Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. Welcome back.
I don't know why. Yeah, so today we are talking about...
Mostly giving to the homeless.
Yeah, giving to the homeless. When you live in a big city, you're bound to bump into someone who is homeless asking for some sort of, money or food or whatever it is. Most of the time it's money. Usually there's like people with the signs on the highway or like even on the street or whatever.
Timmy's.
Yeah, even Timmy's. How do you navigate that? Feel about that? Thoughts?
Well, I guess I'll explain even just what happened to me the other day.
Yeah.
And then that way, It's hard. I don't know. My answer is I don't know. And the not knowing makes me feel guilty. So it started that I was at the Timmy's drive-thru. We have a couple of regulars that are Timmy's, and the one regular was there, and she seemingly is on drugs most of the time, right? And
you're judging that based on her behavior?
Yeah.
Or? Okay.
And obviously like appearance stuff that you kind of like telltale signs, right? Like when you look at someone, you're like, oh, they probably do this, or like they probably do meth, or they probably do whatever, just because physically it takes a toll
on the body, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And like just like when like someone who's like a severe alcoholic, they'll be more like puffy and stuff like that, right? So this lady, but the thought comes in where I'm like, well, I don't know if she's homeless or not because she changes her clothes quite often, right? But she's always begging for money. And so she asked for money like always. And I said no. And then I felt guilty because I was like, I would give her money, but because I assume she's on drugs and that's my own judgment, then I don't give her the money because I don't want her to waste it on that. And then obviously too late when I was driving, I was like, oh, I should have offered to buy her something to eat because buying someone something to eat, at least they'll eat something and they can't spend the money on something else, right? Like, but it didn't come to me till later because sometimes I'm slow. Then I'm driving down the street and I see another guy and he looks like he's dressed better than me. The only thing that looked homeless about him was his beard was unkept.
Hobo chic.
Yeah, like,
yeah.
So I was like, what? I don't, and then you're like, well, I'm not going to give him the money. And he was like a younger guy too. So you judge, oh, well, he's younger. So, and but he could have just been freshly put on the street. Like this could have been his first week on the street. And that's why he looked that like
so fresh.
Yeah. So again, passing judgment. But then as I left, I felt bad because I'm like, who are you to pass judgment on these people? And then I end up at Toys R Us and then I'm at the cash and, you're paying and they go, oh, would you like to donate $1 to sick kids? And then I'm like, are they even going to give this to sick kids? And this is the third time that day that I was about to pass off giving money that I was like, no, I have to so I donated my $1. But then I was like, this is probably the worst.
Because you're giving it to a big corporation, non-profit corporation who God knows.
I gave it to the worst when I should have given it to one of those two people who probably could have done who knows whatever they were going to do with it. But that's at least their own choice, right?
I think that if you had given it to like the singular person, at least you would know where your money was going to that person, whether it be for whatever they were going to use it for,
or food,
but at
whatever.
least that person was spending your money, as opposed to giving to this. Check out like $2 for the children or whatever, sick kids or whatever corporation is affiliated with that donation. Not all the money that is donated to those big charities goes where it's supposed to go, right? So,
and it's hard. Like, how do you decide?
I honestly don't think about it that much. It's kind of on a whim. If I have it, I will give. If I don't, I don't. It's a lot easier to not give when I don't carry cash a lot. And if I do, it's very random. So yeah, if I have some extra change, a couple dollars, then yeah, sure. If there's somebody who needs it, I'll give it. But it's not something that I dwell on or think about.
Oh, I do. I just live with guilt. My existence is living with guilt. So
I think I feel sympathy and all that, but I don't, like, you're sitting here thinking, oh my God, I'm going to give this money to this person and what are they going to do with it? And then I'm just like, whatever. It's not like you're like continuously giving the same person money every day and they're shooting themselves up with that. You know what I mean? Like, it's like a transient, like, passing of a person who you see who's in need, and you just give them the money, and whatever they do with the money, they do with the money. Like, that's fine by me.
I guess so.
At least my intention was to help that person. I mean, whether I was helping them buy drugs that day, I don't know. But that's not for me to feel guilty about, in my mind.
Mm-hmm. I guess that's true. We were saying my best friend, she does that. People will ask for money. She will always say no, but she'll say, like, if she's by like a restaurant or whatever, she'll be like, if you want food, let's go. I'll buy you something to eat. So she'll always offer food, which is something that I wish I would think of more often, like quickly, just on the top of my head. But I don't think that because I just don't think that. I start thinking everything else, and all the other thoughts pop into my mind, right? So that sucks. But what I was telling Simone is that I looked up the stats, and there's at least 10,000 people homeless per night in Toronto.
Yeah. It's
alone.
A hefty number.
That's a lot. So there's a lot of people in need. And then that makes me feel like, oh my God, I should have given those people all my money. But I remember once I just had like a $5 bill, and it was like, especially during Christmas time, people give more money during Christmas time.
Yeah. It really sucks though when you see someone and you're like, the feelings of like, I don't know, guilt that I guess are similar to what you feel is when you see someone who really looks like they really need your help and you don't have anything to give, and you're just like, that hurts my heart. Like, it's just like, oh, I'm sorry, I wish I had something to give, but I can't. Do you take debit? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
because they probably do. They have Square.
That hurts me a little bit, and that makes me feel a little guilty because it's like, oh. And then I think, maybe I should just have change rooting around just in case. But then I'm like, I don't know.
How does it... Okay, so another good example, I guess. So there's a group of guys, I guess, up by my best friend's like place, right? And they are notorious for... They will like beg for money all day, and they will go and buy alcohol, and they will chill and drink with each other right there, like in the same area. So it's like you're not even like hiding it.
Yeah.
And that's what they do. So knowing, like, and then I see the one guy, he will go like down the street and go to the intersection that's busy, and he'll like beg for money there. And usually I'm like, oh, well, like, don't give this guy money. Like, he's just gonna go drink with the guys like up the street later, right? So in that case, would you, if you knew that the person was like drinking or whatever, would you be like, no? Or would you be like, yeah, whatever, I'll contribute today?
It depends on how I'm feeling. Like, yeah, like if I know that 9 times out of 10, that's where the money's going, I'm going to be less reluctant to give. I would be more inclined to be like, can I get you something to eat? Or like, you know, as opposed to like actually giving like actual funds.
And they're the worst because they drink at the bus stop.
Yeah.
So then people are always like...
But then also too, like if I'm like in a mood and I'm just like, okay, whatever, yeah, sure, fine, here. If it's like one time, if they don't really have a whole lot else going on for them. If that's what's gonna make their day, then have that drink with your buddies on the side, like, you know. It's fine.
Money. Go buy myself a bottle of wine.
Yeah, go.
She's like, well, you're going to bring that bottle back to me anyway.
Exactly. I'm going to drink half of it. Oh my God. But yeah, like, it all depends. Like, it's hard if day in, day out, you're seeing the same people, and you know that money is going to that, and you're thinking, oh, you're literally just throwing your money away. Like, yeah, I guess it would become harder and harder, and you'd feel more resentful giving your money. But
it's not like, that I don't want people to enjoy themselves. It's just that I don't want to contribute to someone's downfall. Like, it's one thing if it was like, you know, I don't know. I'm trying to think of where I would want to support someone drinking. Yeah, like, I think the same way that you're saying, like, oh, you want to go have that one drink with your friend. and they're homeless and they're begging for money, and then they go and they have that drink. Okay, cool. But these guys are drinking every day. It's like, I don't want to contribute to that habit.
Yeah, I could see that.
You know what I mean?
I agree with that, because then it's like, you're like fueling the bleakness.
Then you're not trying to get better, and you're not trying to like get on your feet.
And at that point, I would be like, if I'm seeing them every single day, I would just be like, can I just get you something to eat instead? And if they're okay with that, then they're okay with that. If they're not, they're not. There's a story from like years ago. I remember one day I was driving around with my boyfriend, and we stopped somewhere to get food. We stopped at a Jamaican restaurant to get food, and I was sitting in the car, and then he went to go get the food, and he came back to the car and he told me this. Like, basically there was somebody like at the restaurant who was in need, and he felt bad, so he offered to buy them food. And then so he bought the food, and I think he bought her like a patty and like a drink or something like that. And then he went to go offer he didn't ask like what she wanted or anything like that. He just went and like he was buying his food, so he bought her a patty and a drink, whatever. And then the person was like, oh, but for $2 more, you could have gotten me the blah, 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 blah. And he was just like, what? Like, do you want this or not? Like,
I heard stories like that.
I was like, what?
Where they're like, can you get me, like, can you supersize?
Actually.
Like, or can you this or can you that? Like, give me more type thing. They're like, what?
Like, excuse me? Yeah, like, that's funny. But like, like, at the same token, just because you don't have, like, I know there's that whole thing, beggars can't be choosers, but like, if you have certain like tastes, if some, like,
taste for alcohol?
No, stop. Like, what I'm saying, like, if say you're homeless and somebody said, and you're in front of a restaurant, doing whatever, and somebody goes, hey, can I buy you something to eat? Would you not be like, wouldn't you want to eat something that you actually enjoy eating?
Obviously, yeah.
So I could see that.
Where they were like, oh, can I get money? And Tash, because like I said, she'll say no. So she's like, oh, I'll buy you something if you want something in there. And they're like, no, I'd rather the money. And she's like, well, then you won't get anything. Because it's true. Because
I mean, like, that's in her prerogative too. It's her money at the end of the day, right?
Then it's not for the food.
She wants to do with it. Yeah, exactly.
Because you're saying I want money for food. Well, okay, I'll just buy you something right now.
Yeah.
Like, and that's a meal. And if the other money that you're begging for is for food, then you can get something else later.
Yeah.
Right? Save that money for later. I don't know how I'm going to figure it out.
Going back to exposés on the homeless scammers.
Oh, yeah.
Who are like getting up every day, walking around with these signs, having people take pity on them, and collecting all this money. Meanwhile, they're living like a regular life, like no financial problems, really.
A few years ago, there was this one lady who would always go to the CNE, and she would always be at the Dufferin Gates. And I remember, because when I used to work, it was like during the time I worked at the CNE. So she'd always be at the Dufferin Gates, and she was in a wheelchair, and she would beg for money every day. Come to find, like, a few years later, like, went on for years, because she was always there. And a few years later, they do, like, an article on basically how she was, like, scamming, and she had like paid off her condo. She had like, it was tricked out, her condo, like just all of the stuff. And it was from, because I guess I don't know, I don't remember like the specifics. She was also like getting like good money at Dufferin Gates. And I can imagine like the amount of people that go in Dufferin Gates. And then because they would take pity on her disability, they would be like, oh, here, all the money, right? Like, and here our smallest bill is not $1, it's $5. Yeah. So she's probably getting $5 a pop, because most people just don't even have change anymore.
Yeah.
Or if you're entering the CNE, it's because you're going with bills on you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like if you have cash.
Yeah.
No one carries cash. But at that time, when I was at the CNE, a long time ago, we were using cash.
Yeah.
We were cash people.
Yeah.
But yeah, so again, it's just. But then, you know what? It's kind of sad. Like, I would almost want to support that.
Is it? What?
Like, not no, like...
What do you mean? Wait, elaborate.
Like, she was begging for her money, like, And it was almost like a hustle because she was sitting there, and it's not, I can't imagine it being easy for me to just sit there and beg and have people take pity on me. Like, I'm just not that person. So,
But she's living a lie.
But it is living a lie. But at the same time, she's living like a good life. Like, she built up her life. She paid off her house. Like, she's doing all these things.
I can't reconcile approving of that kind of life.
So you would rather give money to someone who's doing drugs on the street than someone?
What I'm saying is it's the scamminess of it all.
Oh, okay.
That's the problem for me. I don't care.
Well, no, I don't want her to go out and scam people, but
that's what I have a problem with. Like, it's like you're taking people's kindness and using it as a weapon against them.
I wonder if that's how it started. Or if she really did need to supplement her.
At some point, maybe, and then it just kind of turned into this
she was like, wow, this is a great job.
Lucrative.
Not paying taxes. Like,
yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm. So what ended up happening there? Do you remember?
No. I wish, look at it.
Go investigate this. Hold on. People are nuts. So yeah, I mean, it's a thing, right? Like, people are, like, there's people out there who are just shady and shiesty.
And it's sad.
And I hate to think that because of the stories like that, I'm sure people are less inclined.
Well, I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
But then
people are less inclined to, like, help because they're like, oh, what is going on here?
And the worst part is, like, the other stat that you had saw, what was it, 20 to 50% of homeless Canadians
suffer from mental illness.
Suffer from mental illness?
Yeah.
But then how many of it, again, was it?
People who have mental illness are twice as likely to suffer from an addiction.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not to say that every homeless person has an addiction. No. It's just, like, higher prevalence,
but
I guess, within that.
But if 20 to 50% of homeless Canadians suffer from mental health, well, that's 20 to 50% of homeless people that are twice as likely to be using.
Yeah.
Right? So that in itself is already a huge problem and a huge...
Yeah.
And then depending where you are, like, here, I don't know, in Toronto, I don't know that the drug problem's as bad. Probably still, it exists.
I would imagine so. Like, there's been stories of needles and stuff in, like...
Yeah, but it's definitely not as high as, like, Vancouver, let's say, where they actually have facilities for people to go in and do the drugs because it's just safer for them, right? I think here we only have, like, one of those, or we don't have one at all.
I think we have like maybe like a couple. We gotta investigate that.
There's not a lot in Toronto for sure, but like over there in Vancouver, I'm pretty sure they have a couple. Because like just walking down the street, it's just like ooh, right? So,
harm reduction program provided by Toronto Public Health. So there's a van that goes around Monday to Saturday from 6:30 to 10:30. There's also a location at Yonge and Dundas, which is a harm reduction area. So
we have one and a
half. Yeah.
One in a shady van with tinted windows.
Meanwhile, yes, in other areas, there's more harm reduction services for people. And I guess due to the fact that there's more prevalence of drug use and whatnot. But with that being said and knowing that information, you can definitely see why it would be hard to like want to give money when you are thinking, is it going to these drugs? Mm-hmm. And I think also too, people have like this moral pedestal and even like subconsciously within like yourself between somebody having a drink and somebody doing like meth. You know what I mean? Like people have different stigmatizations about different vices. You know what I mean? Like almost as if one is better than another, I suppose, which could also lead to people not being benevolent towards people who they might assume have a drug addiction as opposed to like an alcohol addiction.
I think either way, when it comes to homeless and either addiction, I probably feel equally. Like I said, I love to drink. I can't deny. Well, actually, you know what? Now that I'm older, actually, these hangovers are getting out of hand. So I'm less loving the drink and these heartburns. Like, so I'm less liking the drink. But it was fun for a time, I can say.
Yeah.
And even with that feeling, I still, when it comes to homelessness and any type of substance abuse, I feel it's equally as bad. I think for me, when it comes to comparing any type of substance, I would say like something like meth. Yeah, I would be like, oh, that's worse, but only because I feel like it's almost easier to get to death faster.
Yeah.
Like any type of substance.
It's a lot harder to kill yourself with alcohol than it is with
That's what I'm saying. Like
meth or fentanyl or any other.
It just takes something laced with something or too much of something, but in the smallest quantity. You know what I mean? To kill yourself. So that's why I think it's a little bit worse.
Yeah.
But in terms of addiction is an addiction is an addiction.
Yeah.
And that's just the type of mind disease, whatever you have, right?
Yeah.
Like
I'm just trying to like plot out like reasons and rationales for like people.
I'm sure people do. Yeah, I'm sure people do. I'm saying for me personally, it's all bad when it, like if you're homeless, it's all bad. Right? Well, it's all bad.
Regardless,
I feel like it's all bad even if you're not
whether
homeless.
Whether you're homeless or not homeless.
Because we're talking about this homeless bubble of like when to give, when not to give. That's I think they're equally all as bad.
Yeah.
But I think maybe now I might try to talk myself down from judging and being like, look, you want to give the money, you have the money, give the money. Let them do what they want.
Yeah.
Because you know what? Maybe she does look like that, and she does look like she's on drugs. But maybe that's just her scam, and she really is going home and helping her family.
Yeah.
You don't know.
You don't know. Exactly. You never know.
And there's some kind of like, what's it called? Awareness there with her anyway, because she wears different kind of headdresses every time. She always wears her headdress. So
stayed fresh to death for the streets.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I think I'm going to try to be more mindful of like not who cares, but try not to judge.
Yeah. And it's so easy.
If you want to give, just give.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's so easy to judge and be like, oh, like this person looks like whatever, but you have like no idea.
But then I feel guilt about the judge. That's the worst part. I judge and then I feel guilty about it. And I'm like, oh my God, that's not to you. Because I always think of that story. There's some kind of religious story somewhere about like giving someone's like a beggar asking for something and then you say no, this person said no to them and then later they find out that it was Jesus or God or whoever and then
I don't know why I was thinking of Beauty and the Beast when the lady went to the princess.
Maybe that is what I'm thinking of. Who knows?
Yeah, but when the beggar woman came and he like denied her like because she was, you know, ugly and like unfavorable looking and then she turned out to be a beautiful enchantress and put a curse on him and turned him into the beast.
Yeah, essentially that's what I always think, basically along those lines. And it's like, you know, you should just give. Anyway, so I'm gonna try to take Simone's advice, not judge, and just give it and not think about it.
I mean, yeah, like if you have it and you're willing to give it, like just give it and just be grounded in your like thoughts of generosity and
help.
And that's that. And whatever they choose to do with it is none of your business after the money has left your hands.
Yeah. So let us know. What do you do? How do you decide? It's a season of giving, so give. Should I send you my email? No,
oh, God.
Email transfer?
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. But yeah.
You know what we should also look into, too, is, like, the percentage of these bigger charities, like, how much actually goes
that could be a next
next video. That's what I would really like to know.
So, yeah, let us know in the comments. Give us a like, subscribe, and do all that good stuff.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys.
Bye.
Bye.